Every great warrior eventually faces the same opponent. Not another swordsman, not an army, not even death, but himself. Most people spend their entire lives running from that battle. They fill every quiet moment with noise, a podcast during the drive, music while they exercise, endless scrolling before bed, constant conversations, constant distractions, anything to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. The modern world celebrates connection, but it quietly fears solitude. Miyamoto Musashi saw things differently. He spent much of his life walking alone across Japan. He fought more than 60 duels, traveled without permanent attachments, lived in caves, forests, and simple shelters, and devoted countless hours to reflection. To many, his life would have looked lonely. But loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is wanting company and not having it. Solitude is discovering that you are enough even when no one else is around. That difference changes everything, because the person who cannot be alone is easily controlled. They seek approval before making decisions. They fear disappointing others more than betraying themselves. They shape their identity around the expectations of family, co-workers, strangers, and society until they no longer know who they actually are. Musashi believed that true mastery begins where dependence ends. Not dependence on money, not dependence on comfort, dependence on the opinions of others. Think about how much of your day is influenced by someone else's judgment. How you dress, what career you pursue, what success looks like, what hobbies seem acceptable. Even your opinions are often shaped before you've had the chance to think for yourself. It's easy to mistake popularity for truth, but the crowd has never been a reliable teacher. History proves that nearly every meaningful idea was unpopular before it was accepted. The courage to stand alone has always come before the courage to lead others. Musashi understood this because every duel forced him into complete responsibility. There was no audience to save him, no committee to make decisions, no one to blame if he failed. Only his preparation, only his mind, only himself. That kind of responsibility creates clarity. And clarity cannot exist in constant distraction. Most people believe they need more information. Musashi would likely argue they need more silence. Silence reveals things noise hides. It exposes fears you've been avoiding. It uncovers excuses you've been protecting. It forces you to confront the gap between the person you pretend to be and the person you truly are. That confrontation is uncomfortable, which is exactly why so few people choose it. Instead, we stay busy. Busyness has become one of the most socially acceptable forms of avoidance. If every minute is scheduled, if every evening is filled, if every spare second belongs to a screen, then you never have to ask the difficult questions. Am I living according to my own values or someone else's? Am I pursuing what I truly want or what earns admiration? Would I still chase this goal if nobody ever applauded me? Those questions cannot be answered in a crowd. They require solitude. Musashi didn't withdraw from society because he hated people. He stepped away often enough that society couldn't dictate who he became. There's an important difference. Solitude is not about escaping life. It's about returning to it with a clearer mind. Think of a lake after a storm. When the water is constantly disturbed, nothing beneath the surface can be seen. But when everything becomes still, the entire landscape appears. Your mind works the same way. Constant stimulation creates constant turbulence. Stillness creates vision. Many people fear silence because they assume they'll find emptiness. Instead, they usually discover something much more valuable: the voice they've ignored for years, the ambitions they abandoned to fit in, the dreams they convinced themselves were unrealistic, the character they always wanted to build but kept postponing. These things don't disappear. They simply become impossible to hear beneath the noise. Musashi spent decades mastering the sword. But the sword was never the true objective. It was simply a tool for mastering himself. Every discipline he practiced, From calligraphy to painting to strategy required presence. Complete attention. Undivided focus. These were not hobbies. They were exercises in becoming difficult to distract. Today, distraction is one of the world's most valuable commodities. Entire industries compete for your attention because attention shapes identity. Whatever repeatedly captures your mind eventually shapes your life. Musashi understood this centuries before algorithms existed. Guard your attention, and you guard your character. This is why solitude is so powerful. When you're alone intentionally, you reclaim ownership of your attention. No one tells you what deserves your focus. No one decides what matters. You choose. And every time you choose deliberately, your mind grows stronger. Many people believe confidence comes from compliments. Musashi would likely disagree. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself when no one is watching. Discipline practiced in private eventually becomes strength displayed in public. The strongest tree doesn't grow because everyone admires it. It grows because its roots deepen where no one can see. Character develops the same way. Not through applause. Through unseen hours. Quiet mornings. Difficult decisions. Moments when quitting would be easier than continuing. These victories rarely receive recognition, but they are the ones that matter most. If you want to become someone difficult to intimidate, learn to enjoy your own company. Walk without headphones sometimes. Sit in silence. Write your thoughts instead of escaping them. Leave your phone behind for an hour. Take a long drive without filling every second with noise. Not because silence is comfortable, because it teaches you who you are. Musashi spent a lifetime preparing for battles. The greatest lesson he left behind wasn't how to defeat another person. It was how to become someone who no longer needed the world's approval to feel complete. In the end, solitude is not the absence of others. It is the place where you finally meet yourself. And the person you discover there will determine every battle that follows.